All right. So as you probably know, the Apple Card is probably the most polarizing credit card. I feel like people either hate it or absolutely love it. Like whenever I make a video on the Apple Card, I know that it's going to get the most hate no matter what. Like
Does it get the most views on your channel or no?
it does. And I would love to add it to my wallet. You know, the card design's cool. It would make a fine addition to my collection.
Fine addition to my collection.
But I do have a lot of problems with it. And I think generally, like most credit card YouTubers come to the conclusion that the Apple Card is just kind of mid. But you're one of the guys that actually advocate for it. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it today.
For sure, man. I mean, I am team travel, so I'm team miles and points. The Apple Card was probably my second credit card ever when it first came out, and I've since moved away from the cashback world, but I still recommend it to a lot of people, especially people that like don't care about miles and points or want something easy, set it and forget it, and they're already like using Apple Pay for everything. I think it's a great card. There's like nothing wrong with it in my opinion.
Yeah. So why is that? Why would you recommend it?
So first and foremost, it's very easy, like I mentioned, right? You get 3% cash back, anything Apple related. Everybody's got a subscription on their iPhone, anything through the App Store, in-app purchases, even hardware. Everybody has a freaking Mac. You know, maybe you're going to edit this on your iPhone, probably your iPad or something, or your laptop. So you can get 3% cash back, and it's daily. So you buy something on Monday, Tuesday morning, you have that money if you want to use it, which is rare in the credit card space. And then secondly, now that, because I made a couple of videos, so I know that we're 85% plus of all US merchants take Apple Pay, which means this is a 2% catch-all mostly card, right? And then the off chance you have to use the physical card and maybe at a restaurant or something like that, although I always ask if they can bring the terminal to me, and 9 times out of 10 they can bring it to me if I want to pay with Apple Pay. So yeah, then it's a catch-all card. It's a cool titanium card. It's got no fees, no foreign transaction fees, no late fees, no overdraft. Or I guess overdraft isn't even a thing for a credit card. But the biggest thing for me that I like the card for is that when I got it, I didn't know much about credit cards. I didn't know much about interest. I didn't know what a rollover balance was or a minimum versus paying it all at once. Most people nowadays are much better educated on that and are aware of like, oh, of course it makes sense. Like you want to pay off your card in full every single time. But clearly like America falls into that trap. And what the Apple Card does so amazingly is that it teaches you like, hey, all right, you owe $500 on the card, but your minimum is 40. If you pay 40, the consequence of you paying 40 is that now you're going to have an additional like $50 rolling over like on the card or something like that. So it teaches you how much interest you're going to be accruing over time if you pay the minimum or pay anything less than the full amount. And that, I think, is the thing that gets overlooked by this card.
Yeah, so I've heard that argument before. It gives you, I personally don't have it, but I've seen some of your videos on it. It gives you like that little wheel where however much you pay, and then it'll tell, yeah. So I have a little bit different take on that. In my opinion, if you pay any interest at all with your credit card, you've essentially lost the game, you know, because if you're paying interest and carrying a balance, there's usually a couple, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, that usually means that you don't have any money in your savings account or checking account because you're not paying it off in full. You probably don't have an emergency fund. And if you're paying a balance at all or paying interest at all, I think you're kind of losing the game. So I think that wheel could get people comfortable with carrying a balance, even if it's just a small one. You know, like they say, oh, if I only carry like a $10 balance, that's only like 10 cents in interest. It's okay. And then they kind of get comfortable with that. So
I see that side. I see that side of the coin for sure. My whole thing was like, I didn't really know early on. Like I didn't know that not paying in full, you were losing the quote unquote game. Right. And like I applied for a card that had like 26% interest and I was like, oh, that's better than 29 or, you know, whatever. And I thought that was a thing to look for in a card as a perk, right? The lower the interest rate, the better, which I guess kind of is a perk, but like not really. Because like you said, you're losing the game at that point, no matter how much interest you're paying, whether it's 1% or 30%. So for me, it taught me like, oh, if I went from like red to yellow, I'm paying less in interest, but I'm still like paying this money for what? Like, I don't get it. Right. So then that's what taught me like, all right. And then of course, like went all the way green and then all the way blue if you paid it off in full. And also the card, another little Easter egg, if people aren't aware of this, when you make purchases in certain categories on the card, the digital card on your phone turns different colors. So if you buy something at a grocery store, it's green, you know, something at Best Buy, it's blue, whatever. And then when you pay it off in full, it goes completely white again. Right. So it was like another little mini game that I was playing on my phone and in my head that like, all right, if this card isn't like fully white at all times, then I'm doing something wrong. Right. So in that way, it kind of taught me. So that's what I'm saying. It's for the very early beginners who aren't even aware that like interest is a bad thing. is kind of like where I put this card.
Yeah, no, I see that definitely. If you're like completely new to credit cards, I'll talk that'll go into. I have one argument for the Apple Card, and that will kind of go into it. We'll talk about it later.
Nice.
But first, I want to talk about another big problem with the Apple Card. Is the no sign up bonus. That's a really big one for me. Because most other cashback cards, you know, if you get a good one, you're getting about $200, and you might usually you spend like what, $500, maybe $1,000 to get that, just to make up that $200 that you're getting pretty much for free with another cashback card. You have to spend $10,000 on the Apple Card in mobile wallet. And with that $10,000, I mean, you could hit the sign up bonus on like one of the ink cards from Chase and get like, there's a lot you could do with
8,000. That. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's definitely a gripe. And like, I've definitely come at Apple for not having a sign up bonus. Every now and then you'll see like get $75 after your first purchase within 30 days, or, they're kind of off. And like every once in a while they'll do like some sort of sign up bonus, but they definitely don't have a referral program. I've referred a few people and you don't get anything back for sure. So that is definitely a gripe, but I guess Apple's going to Apple the same way that the Apple in the tech world, where it's like they're going to do it their way. They're not going to do it the way that the rest of the industry does it. And you're either going to like it or you don't. And maybe, I mean, I don't know why Goldman Sachs is losing so much money on it to begin with, but it could be a reason why, is to like people are just getting this card and then not paying it off. But I do think that not having a sign up bonus is a detriment to them. I just don't know if the masses are looking at it that way, if that's a way to think about it. Because I agree with you 100%. It needs a sign up bonus to really, especially in our world, compete with other cashback cards at that $0 annual fee.
Yeah, no, because I fully want to get this card. I love metal cards. It's one of my weaknesses. I love my Amex Gold. Not so. That's a whole different conversation. But I love the physical card.
And it definitely has it's the clankiest card I've ever had. Like I just got, I think I got it, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago. And I got a notification on my wallet like, hey, you need to get a new one. So like, because the chip is older, I don't know, you had to replace it for a physical new one. So I just got it in the mail. I don't know what I did with it. I literally just had it 2 days ago. But yeah. Oh, hold on. Wait for it. Boom. There it is. It's still in there. Because that's how little I use a physical card, But it definitely has some of the best clank out there.
We're here. Let's do something right now. I have my Amex Gold right here. This is like the other popular metal card, I guess. And I'll drop it, and hopefully our mics can pick it up. But you could probably tell the difference if I bring it close. This compared to, it's a little bit of clang, but it's not.
Ready? You ready for this one?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could tell. So I want to get the card just for that reason, but I feel like they're just not giving me enough. And the sign-up bonus is one of the huge reasons for that. If they had like a $300 sign-up bonus, I might go for it eventually after I get some of the Chase and Amex cards. But no sign-up bonus at all is just making it hard.
And then I guess to keep trying to convince you, even though, you don't have to get it, obviously. There's definitely better cards out there, but to kind of play anti-devil's advocate or whatever. What about the other perks that you get, like the high yield savings account that you get that's integrated with it, the daily cash back? I mean, I'm not going to advocate for buy now, pay later, but that's like in there if you need it. Honestly, the high yield savings account is just kind of cool. So you get the daily cash back when you do buy something, and then instead of getting the cash back in a usable way in like the Apple Cash Card or whatever it's called, you can just have it automatically set to go to your high yield savings. So it's almost like a roundup feature where you're saving when you're not even really knowing that you're saving. So it's kind of a nice little passive feature, although the APY has been going down little by little.
Yeah, I checked it earlier. If I'm not mistaken, it's at like 3.9. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really necessarily care about the high yield savings account. I have UFB Direct.
Okay.
I have Robinhood Gold.
Get?
I stopped using it, but
okay.
I think it's hovering around 4 or maybe 4.1. So it's always at the top of my yield savings account. I have Robinhood Gold too, just because it gives me an IRA match, and my uninvested cash earns 4% right now. So I can use that as a high yield savings account. I also have SoFi too, which I'll probably, I'm with Navy Fed, but I'll probably switch over to SoFi just because it's sick.
No, I love SoFi. Shout out SoFi. I think they have 3.9 also, for sure. So that's what I'm saying. If you don't have a high yield savings account and you're in the Apple world, then maybe it makes sense, And and it syncs across all your devices. It's easy. It's got that rotating card if it gets lost or credit card number if it gets lost or stolen. A lot of that cool little perks and stuff like that. But again, I do think it needs some sort of sign up bonus or something to keep people around, to get people in it.
I want to go back to the physical card. So obviously it's really cool, but it more or less punishes you for using the card because they give you such a cool card, but when you use it instead of in mobile wallet pay, you're getting 1% instead of 2%. And I don't know if you've seen the prices at like movie theaters, but the way they use this kind of psychological trick with this popcorn where they have their large popcorn at something outrageous like $10.
Yeah.
Which you would never pay. But then they put their medium and their small popcorn at like $7. So you're like, well,
Yeah.
I don't want to buy a medium, so I might as well pay $10 for the large. So then it kind of tricks you into being happy with paying $10 for a large popcorn. And I feel like that's the same thing that Apple's kind of doing. Is normally you would never be happy with 1%, but since they're giving you a cool card, you're kind of like, oh, you know what? I like this card so much that I'm happier taking a lower cash back just to use it. So I think even though that Apple's spending more money on making a titanium card, they save money because, you know, you're happy with getting lower cash back.
And it's not worth like $200. You know what I mean? They probably cost them like 50 cents to make this thing. But I do want to say, for the people that want to get the card just purely for the card, the honeymoon period goes away the second you open it up. It's cool when you get it at first. It's cool when you clank it a couple times. It's even cool when you like use, even though I think Chase does this now, but you can use NFC to like activate it really quickly with your phone. I'm pretty sure Chase does that now because I think I did it recently. But yeah, after a while, like again, I don't ever pull this card out. Again, it was literally in my drawer. I use Apple Pay for everything. I've like stopped bringing my wallet around places, even for non-Apple related purchases and stuff like that. So if you're going to do it just for the card, I would say definitely don't do it. But maybe another like scenario where maybe the Apple Card is worth it for you is if you are maybe going to college, or like you just graduated college and you're going to get a brand new laptop, right? Applying for it and getting the 0 interest financing on a laptop. Like I work with a lot of Apple hardware, and for the most part, I finance it because it's 0 interest. You know, like my iPhone financed through Apple, my iPad Pro financed through Apple. So I get 12 months and I think 24 months for the iPhone to pay it off. And it's cool. It's kind of like getting like the Best Buy card, but for Apple and things like that.
Yeah. So I want to present you with my argument, and this is
okay.
I usually present this in my videos, and I think the logic here is pretty hard to defeat. All right, so there's two different cards. The first one is, I don't know if you've heard of them before. They're from US Bank. They're US Bank co-branded cards. They're under the Kroger store, and what they give you is 5%. Yeah. Okay. But what they give you is 5% back when you use Apple Pay or any mobile wallet pay. So you can also use it with Android too. And obviously you would take 5% with that card over the Apple card's 2%. But the problem with that card is it's capped at $3,000 of Apple or a mobile wallet pay spend. And if you go over that, you're only getting 1% back, right? But you could also, if you're going over $3,000, you could go with one of the many 2% cashback cards. You know, there's the Citi Double Cash, Wells Fargo Active Cash. PNC Bank has a pretty good one now too. There's so many out there. And those usually come with a $200 sign-up bonus. So if you are spending under $3,000 in Apple Pay a year, you should get one of the Kroger cards that give you 5% back in mobile wallet pay. And then if you're spending over that, you could get one of the 2% cashback cards that you don't need to use in Apple Pay. You can use it in Apple Pay and it'll give you the 2% back, but you can also use the physical card at somewhere like Walmart or, you know, the places that don't take Apple Pay.
Wait, is that 5% back on any purchase or just at Kroger?
Any purchase.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a super underrated card. Some of them, like the Harris Teeter and the Ralphs, give you like 3% back at gas and dining up to like $5,000 as well. So
okay, I mean that makes sense. I mean your argument is definitely going to win in that way. It's just I also didn't realize how much clout the physical card has. Right, a lot of people like it, like you said, for the card. People want it because it's a titanium card, because it's, you know, probably the prettiest card that you can get. Right. I've even seen companies like skin the card in like matte black and like you can customize it and stuff like that. But again, I think the Apple Card is for the people that are all into the Apple ecosystem. Like I'm an iPhone, iPad, Mac. I got AirPods in. I got my Apple Watch on. I got I sold my Vision Pro because it was too expensive, but I did have that also. So like I am all in the Apple ecosystem, and I'm purchasing Apple products a lot, right? So I'll just put them on this card, 0 interest, and then I'll pay it off. And what's cool is that I get the full amount up front of daily cash on the day that you finance it and things like that. So I think the Apple Card is for those people. I also think it's for the people that want to set it and forget it. And then I also think like it could go either way. I kind of see your argument of convincing people or teaching the behavior of being okay with interest, but I still see it the other way where because for me, my experience was that it educated me on what interest really meant. Right? Because before it was just like a theoretical number, or it was just kind of like this abstract thing where I didn't get it. And then when I got the Apple Card, it kind of like clicked. Because I remember this was my first ever card was a Best Buy card that I applied for to like finance at my first TV when I moved out of my parents' house. Right? not a great decision. But then my second card was this Apple card. And I applied for it like 3 or 4 times before they finally approved me for it. Way back when, I think it came out in like 2018, maybe 2019. And then, yeah, I mean, I used it the first year a lot because I wasn't in the miles and points game. I didn't have anything else. And then I loved using it. It was easy to use. I Apple Paid with everything. I had my 3% back on hardware and software and services, 2% on the Apple Pay. And then I saw my daily cash balance just like go up, and it turned into kind of like this mini emergency fund that I don't touch. That would, like, if everything goes to hell, like I could just use that in a pinch, you know? So that's kind of like that's why I like the Apple Card. For me, it has a positive taste in my mouth, but I can see, and I'm fully aware that it's not for everybody, and that there are other cards out there that do better.
Yeah, so I would have a couple of things to say about that. Number one is it is one of those cards where once you have it, there's no reason to cancel it, because you're getting, I mean, you can pretty much use it as a catch-all card if you want, as we talked about. I think I've read over 90% now take it, but maybe it's only 85. But the only place that I can think of is
I'm trying to think of like a cash-only spot that I've been
just
to recently.
I can only think Walmart, to be honest.
Yeah, Walmart, they still don't take Apple Pay. I forgot about them. But yeah, it's crazy out there. At least my local Walmart, I try to avoid it because there's so much going on there.
The other thing that I was going to say, and I want to get your opinion on this because I know you're kind of in the tech world, is instead of going through Apple, I always buy my stuff on Back Market. Like I got my computer on Back Market. This is I don't know. It's one of the, like, it has like an M1 chip, but before that I got an older one when I started college. It worked great for me for a couple years. And then when I started editing more with my channel, I upgraded to this one, and then I sold the old one close to what I bought it for there on like OfferUp. And now I have this one. I bought it for like $400, and it works great, you know?
For sure.
So instead of financing it through Apple, I would rather get like that is half price because of the depreciation, and then just use that. But I know a lot of people are against refurbished stuff.
I kind of agree with your argument, because so even to still get them new, right? If you want to get, even if you look today, if you want to get, let's say, an M3 MacBook Air on Apple, it's like $1,100, I think, brand new for the cheapest one. And the same exact one on Amazon is at least $100, sometimes $200 off. But I still go to Apple, and it's because of the Apple Card, right? Because I would rather, again, it's like a psychological thing. Like, I'd rather just like finance it over time and like leave it on there and like whatever, because I have the Apple Card and get my 3%, because I'm just like so used to it, and it just seems easier in my mind, even though I'm like, mathematically that's incorrect. Financially that's incorrect. Like, I'm going to save more money. I'm going to save the $200 up front buying it from Amazon, even though I have to pay the $800 all at once, you know, and not get my 3% back, but I'm saving money in the long run. But for some reason, I still just gravitate towards, if it has an Apple logo on it, I'm getting it from Apple, and I think a big reason is because of the Apple Card, which I think is not a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. That's why the Apple Card is so popular, because it has that little Apple logo on it.
I know.
And the other thing that I was going to say about what you said earlier is how much in like total Apple subscriptions that you're getting 3% back on do you think you spend in a year?
Ooh, that's a good question. So how many Apple subscriptions do I have directly through Apple? I pay for Apple One. I think that's like $38 a month, like the family plan. I think I pay for my Disney Plus through the Apple Store. I have like a fitness subscription to like Strong Lifts 5x5. That's once a year. So I would say, what's 40 times 12? That's 480 plus another, like, I probably spend like $600 to $800 a year on things that I get through the App Store.
Let's just say for sake of simplicity, because math isn't really my strong suit, that you spend $1,000 on subscription through Apple that you're getting 3% back on, right? You could just put those same subscriptions on a 2% back card, and the difference between 2 and 3% back of $1,000, $20 versus $30 at $10 in savings. So that's why I don't really necessarily agree with getting 3% back on Apple stuff argument, because you could just use a 2% card. Same thing with, you don't get the 0% financing, but you could just open up a 2% card and then also hit the sign-up bonus on it and use that to pay down. So now to ask you the question, as somebody who wants the Apple Card just because of the card, and you keep mentioning all these other cards where you do get the $200 sign-up bonus or whatever the case is for a zero-fee card, like, in what order would you get? Like, where would you get it? Like third or fourth or fifth? Like, how far down the list is it? Or are you just going to bite the bullet one day because you like how cool it looks, you know? Unless they offer a sign-up bonus, and we'll talk at the end. I want to talk about potential changes, because I know Goldman Sachs relationship is kind of falling apart. Yeah. But I probably will never get it. I think one day I'll get a cool metal card to just scratch that itch. Maybe I like the Gemini card. That's a card that I sometimes recommend to people that want the Apple card for the physical design, because you get a really, it's actually a really good card. It gives you, if you're okay with getting your rewards in crypto, with a lot of younger people are.
Is that the crypto.com card?
No, it's different. Crypto.com cards suck. I have one on me actually. Here, where is it? I have the crypto.com card right here. So I guess I do have a cool metal card. It sucks, but no, Gemini, it's a completely different thing. It gives you, I think, 4% back on gas, 3% on dining, and then 2% on groceries. So you do get all your rewards in crypto, so you have to be okay with that. But if you want a cool metal card and you're newer to credit cards, I think that's a good card to scratch that itch.
Do you have this card?
No, I don't. My friend is going to apply for it soon, so I might do a little bit on an unboxing with his card. But I've heard good things about it. Yeah,
I've never even heard of this card. I'm like looking into it now. The website looks pretty. Hits apply immediately.
I think they do prequel too. I don't know if they show you your limit.
I wonder how they pay out the crypto. Do they have their own?
It's instantly as
that
well.
You get?
Yeah, it's Gemini is an exchange, so I think it's like crypto.com or like Coinbase.
Okay, so it's like pretty easily accessible and stuff. Sorry, I get very skeptical with crypto.
No, I understand that. I always get like, I'm not big enough where I get like sponsorship offers yet, but like the couple that I have got are like these shady crypto cards that are like, oh, we'll give you $3 for every referral you get if you advertise our crypto card with a $200 annual fee that gives you 1% cash back.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's cool. I'm gonna look into this card honestly, see what it's like.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, so one more objection that I have to the Apple Card, and this isn't necessarily a Apple Card problem, but it sort of is. So you mentioned when you got it when you were a beginner to credit cards, and it taught you about credit cards, right? Here's one of my problems with it is they're very generous with credit limit increases, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen, even if you get approved with like a $500 limit, within a couple of years, I don't think it's crazy to get even $10,000 limit or a pretty generous limit. What they're essentially doing is approving people with very little financial literacy, because most of the people are into Apple. It's just casual people. A lot of people, it's their first or second credit card. And then they're giving them a huge limit to play with, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like if you watch like Dave Ramsey or like Caleb Hammer, a lot of people have a bunch of debt from the Apple Card because of that reason, you know?
No, I agree. And it's true. I mean, when I applied, it was a pretty low limit. And like even randomly, I'll get like emails from Apple like, oh, you don't have to do anything, but we just increased your limit $2,000. Like, you're going from this to this. And like, I didn't like ask for one. Nothing. It just like, they just gave it to me because like, why not? You know? So I can definitely see that, especially in the beginning. Like I keep mentioning, like this, like you don't need a good credit score for this for you to get approved. I think I've seen data points of like 650, 640, people getting approved.
I think I've seen all the way to like 600. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe even like I have the number like 580 in my mind too. And that's probably why Goldman Sachs was like so hungry to get a consumer credit card out there where like everybody can get it. And I think it just bit them in the butt because, like you said, now everybody that has any sort of Apple product puts it on there, can't pay it off, can't meet the minimum spend or the minimum requirement. They put a bunch of stuff on there. It's so easy, like again, psychologically to Apple Pay, especially even online. Like now there's Apple Pay on online retailers. You don't have to pull your phone out. You could just touch ID or whatever. So I can definitely see the issue of people racking up and maxing out that credit card very quickly and then not worrying about it and then like dealing with the consequences later. So that's probably why Goldman Sachs is trying to get out of there. Yeah,
I could be completely wrong here, but I think what happened with Goldman Sachs is that kind of backfired on them. They gave a bunch of beginners a huge credit limit to play with, and then they just went and they maxed that all out. Maybe they bought whatever, they could buy anything, Apple products, and then they just never paid it off. And then they had to sell that debt to collections for pennies on the dollar. And that kind of screwed them over, you know?
That definitely makes sense. And I can definitely see that happening because in my younger days, you know, I definitely fell into that trap when I didn't know what I was doing. And then little by little, I had to dig myself out of that hole. So, and I want to say like 95% of people can't dig themselves out of that hole. Poor Goldman Sachs, but I don't feel sorry for them.
Yeah. So, okay. So my only argument for the Apple Card is maybe someone that's, if you can get it as your first card, let's say you just graduated college and you have some student loans that built you up some credit, or you're an authorized user on one of your parents and you want to get your own, and you're able to get approved as your first card because it will build up your credit profile pretty easily.
Yeah.
Because it'll give you those limit increases. And for those who don't know, your credit score it goes a lot deeper than just the number. You know, you can have a high number from just being an authorized user, but it's going to be a lot easier to get approved for other cards, and I'm sure even mortgages and car loans if those lenders see that you're already trusted with a really high limit. So if you're able to get the Apple Card as your first card and then get those limit increases and be able to be responsible with it. And then also I don't know if you've seen the trick, but the Apple Card will show you your starting limit before they do a hard pull. So I've seen some people go up to that and then freeze their Experian and their different, I think you just have to freeze Experian and then you accept it and then you don't get a hard pull at all.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. That kind of makes sense.
So I guess if you can get it as your first card, build up some credit with it and then not get a hard pull. But even then, I mean, I'd probably still recommend maybe the Discover card will do the same thing for you as far as credit increases. Or at that point, you could probably get approved for one of the Freedom Unlimited cards, you know. So
it's just so, again, for like the beginner person, it's just so easy. There's no extra web portal you got to go through. There's no new login info. There's no like needing to remember to pay. Like I have a million different bank accounts now, you know, because like we do what we do. But if I think back, it's like, if you don't have an iPhone, I think now you can, but like in the beginning, up until recently, if you didn't have an iPhone, you can't have an Apple Card because it's all paid through the wallet app. There's no online portal. There's no other way to pay the card off unless I think you call or something like that. But it's very easy to make sure you pay it off in time. You can get alerted very easily, you know, for better or for worse, depending on who you are. Glass half full, glass half empty. I think the little wheel is a positive, not a negative. So I think that's why I think you're right. I think it's a great first card. Some people even, like, I didn't even know about sign up bonuses when I was getting my first credit card, you know? For the main reason I got my first credit card was to be able to finance a TV because that's what I wanted. And that's kind of like how I grew up in, you know, with like my background and stuff like that and how finances were taught to me, quote unquote, which they weren't. But so, I mean, I think it's a great first card. It's easy to use. There's no extra headache that you have to do. There's nothing new you need to know. You just Apple Pay whenever you need to. You get your little cash back if you want to, if that's something that you want to get into. And some people just don't want to play the game that we play or even consider it even passively, you know? So I think you're right. It's a good first card.
Yeah. Actually, some funny lore about me is the Apple Card was actually the first card that I ever applied for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it just came out. I think I was 16 or 17 or something. So I wasn't even old enough to get a credit card, which is why I got denied. But I watched a Graham Stephan video and that's what started getting me into finance. But he talked about like the importance of getting your first card. So I was like, okay, I didn't get it. I didn't obviously apply for any of the cards that he recommended. I mean, I wasn't old enough, so it wouldn't have mattered, but I just thought the Apple Card was so cool. I knew absolutely nothing about credit besides that one 10-minute video I watched, but I just wanted it because, you know, like everyone else, I didn't know anything about sign-up bonus. I didn't know what interest was. I just wanted the cool card.
No, for sure. And that's, I mean, aside from me being an Apple fanboy, that's another big reason. I was like, they got me with the cool, like, marketing videos and, like, the little laser etching of the Apple logo and stuff like that. I was like, only Apple can market a credit card this way, you know? I definitely see its drawbacks. There's definitely better stuff out there. But I think for the right person, I think it's a perfect card. You know, if you know what you're going to be using it for.
I don't know about perfect card, but I've come to the conclusion, I've come to the conclusion that if you want it for the security, for the savings account, for the user interface and the cool card, and if that's what you want and you go into it knowing that there are objectively better credit cards on the market, but you're okay with, I guess, getting less, or you don't really care about the rewards and you're okay with that, then go for the Apple Card, you know, just because me or, you know, I'm not credit card Jesus and neither are the other finance YouTubers. You know, you can, if you want the card, go for it, but just know what you're getting, I would say.
Yeah. Just know that there's better financial decisions that could be made when applying for a card. It's just, again, if you're an Apple sheep and you just want to do it all easy on your phone and you favor like app UI over anything else, then sure, Apple Card is a good one. You know,
to close the video, I do want to talk about Goldman Sachs and banks that might be replacing it. For those of you that don't know, I think Apple, what did they lose? Like it was in the billions of dollars on the
Apple
card.
Didn't. Goldman Sachs.
I'm sorry, Goldman Sachs did. Yeah, Apple made. Yeah. But so now they're looking for a bank issuer to replace it, obviously, because Apple's not their own bank and they need a sponsor or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of different rumors. Initially, I thought it was Chase. I know you made a video. I think Proud Money did. I talked about it in one of my older videos that Chase is probably going to replace it. But now, you know, it looks like, I don't know what happened with that. Maybe that was just a rumor, but I'm seeing rumors of Barclays, however you say it.
Barclays,
or I think Synchrony too. So, and I've seen some articles saying it might not even happen till like 2030 now. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think?
I mean, I personally hope that Chase gets it, But like you said, it's kind of looking less and less likely that Chase is going to snag it. I think Goldman Sachs just wasn't ready for what they were getting themselves into. Like I'm sure in theory it sounded great. Like, oh, let's partner up with Apple. Like they're basically the biggest fashion brand of the tech world where everybody's involved, like pop culture, everybody loves Apple, blah, blah, blah. So let's get Apple involved with this. And they ended up, like we said, we know the reason why they're losing money. People are just not paying them off. Everything's going to collections. So Goldman Sachs just wasn't ready for that. Meanwhile, all these other legacy banks and issuers have been dealing with this for a century, right? Basically, or like half a century. Like this, they know this game very well. So I think, although I don't want Synchrony to get it because I've heard some pretty negative things about Synchrony and how they kind of gamify things in their favor, I think they're probably going to be the best bet for Apple because Apple won't have to deal with the backlash of losing them money because they're probably way more well equipped on losing money than somebody like Goldman Sachs was, especially at the consumer level. You know, I'm sure Goldman Sachs at the high, you know, the 0.001%ers lose money like crazy also, but they're well equipped for that. They know that, they're insured for that versus all these other companies, they're insured the other way around. They're used to 90% of Americans being thousands of dollars in credit card debt. You know, so I think Synchrony might be snagging it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was also hoping it was Chase, just because, as you probably know, and anyone watching that is familiar with credit cards knows that Chase does a very good job of handling their credit cards, even their co-branded credit cards. Like I have the Amazon Prime Visa, and that's a Chase co-branded one, and they done a great job with that one. It would be cool if you would earn ultimate rewards points with the Apple Card. That would 100% make me get it, you know. But yeah. I doubt they'll do that, just because I would assume they'll keep it cash back and handle it the same way as the Amazon Prime Visa, where you're just earning those Chase points, but they're not ultimate reward. I
kind of want it to be Chase selfishly because I also want Chase to learn from Apple from a tech perspective. Like I want banks to learn the Apple UI. Like I want them to make it easy. Although the Chase app has gotten a lot better. Don't get me wrong. The Chase app has gotten like light years better, but it's still nowhere near as easy to use as the Apple Wallet, Apple Card app is. So that's what I want. I want like my main bank of choice to adopt that kind of tech on the user level. Yeah, no, I didn't even think of it for that perspective. I mean, the Chase UI isn't horrible. It's definitely usable, but of the credit cards that I use, it's the worst. Just because I have the other ones are Discover, which is a great UI, and then Amex, which I was pretty surprised. They have an amazing UI too. Amex has gotten way better. I've never used Discover. I got to see what that one looks like, but Amex has gotten way better. Chase is fine. Like you can use it, but it's nothing crazy to write home about. Capital One is kind of good too. Yeah, I've yet to get a Capital One card, but you have the Venture X. You should get the Venture. They got the new sign-up bonus. That's the plan. So right now the plan is I'm just getting into business cards right now. I just got approved for my first business card, the Amex. I always get tripped over the name, Blue Business Plus. Okay. So I'm just dipping my toes into the business world, but I'm looking to get a couple of the ink cards first because I'm at 420. What is it? 24 right now. So I'm getting the ink cards and then hopefully getting the Sapphire Preferred, and then after that I will get the Venture X. And hopefully by that, because I only have 4 cards right now. And I know the Venture X is weird about their approvals. They don't want you to have too many, but I'm a huge fan of the Venture X. I always recommend that card. I think that and the Saver for like 99% of people, you're pretty much set with your credit cards if you have the Capital One Duo, you know? No, I definitely agree. I'm actually thinking about downgrading my Venture X just because I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and I feel like it's redundant to have both of them. Like I already got the sign-up bonus. It's been a year. Like I just paid the yearly fee again for the Venture X. So obviously I'll hold on to it for the rest of the year. But then I might downgrade it to just like, what's the one below the Venture Rewards? There's like one that's a 0-fee Venture card. I don't even know. But that's I'm not sure. I forget what it's called. They all sound kind of Venture something. Yeah. So I mean that's kind of my plan. Not to digress, but that's what I definitely like the Venture X a lot too, though. And it's a cool metal card. Yeah, I was just gonna say to close it out, if Synchrony or if Barclays took over, how do you see that changing the Apple Card? I think they're actually going to keep it so for the end user, nothing much changes at all. You might get I don't even know what you get for the Barclays card. Nets tickets, maybe? I don't even know. I mean, I don't know if they have their own card. I think they mostly sponsor store cards. Yeah, I think they have. It might be a co-branded card that they have. But I mean, for the end user, I don't think anything's going to change. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 additional features that are specific to Synchrony or specific to Barclays, like their differentiator that gets added to it. But I think the goal that Apple has set forward is to like change as little as possible. because for Apple, it's working. They're getting users galore. They're getting people to finance their stuff. They're moving more stuff because it's easier for consumers to swallow $100 up front and then $100 a month down the line than spending $1,200 on a laptop. I think it would be as seamless as possible to make sure that nothing changes and that people don't even notice it. Honestly, I think that is best case scenario for Apple.
Yeah, I don't see very much changing either. Maybe a small sign-up bonus. Probably not if it was Synchrony, but probably just stricter approvals and then credit limits.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
I agree. They're definitely going to be a little bit more decisive on or stringent on who they're going to allow to get the card. And like you said, keeping the credit limits low. Because I think that's also, like you said, like a big one. Like the limit that they gave me when I first applied for the card was crazy. I was like, whoa. I was like, I wasn't even making that money like in a 3-month span working. I was like, what are they doing? Give me this much money, So it is what it is. But like I said, now that I'm in the points and miles game, the only thing I use that card for is if it has an Apple logo. Otherwise, right now, I just met my minimum spend on the Hyatt card. So that's the last, and right now we're free agents, as I like to call it. We're scouring to see what's next. All
right. Well, I think that wraps it up today. If you guys haven't already, go check out what is it? Ferns Frugal Points and Miles.
Ferns Frugal right? Finance and Points.
I'll link it down in the description. But yeah, thanks for coming on today. Hopefully everything recorded okay.
Let's hope. Fingers crossed.
We'll see.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.